So we have something that I put together tonight, and the name of the show is called House of Cards. And the reason why it's called House of Cards, well, you're gonna figure out why it's called House of Cards by the time we get to the end of the show. But what I think I want you guys to concentrate on tonight is the game that's being played against humanity. You need to know that someone is pulling strings. There is a much broader, much larger entity that's out there. And they control things. They control stock, they control investments, they control markets, they control everything. First of all, you need to know who's controlling it, right? And I think we've really done a great job at identifying that over the last 5 or 6 years that you and I have been together. That's only the first part. We know there's a cabal. We know there's global elites. We know all that. The second part is identifying the game that they play. And that's the most important part. You have to go back decades and you have to see how they rig the system. You need to see the game that they put in front of you because you can't play the game unless you know the game. You can't walk into a board game that you've never seen before and someone hands you the dice and says, go. You roll the dice and move your piece and you land on something that says, abolish. What the hell does that mean? I know what the word abolish means, but what do I do in the game? You don't know, do you? And then you roll another 4 or 5 times and you keep landing on all these squares that say different words and you have no idea what they mean. So you don't know what you're doing. How are you going to win? You can't. There's no way to win. Even if you get lucky, there's no way to win, right? So you need to learn the game. And I think I've learned the game. I think I know what they do. I think it's predictable, actually. And I think that's one of the reasons, and that would be my answer to the person that asked me, how do you keep landing on the right side of all this stuff? Well, I know what they're doing. I know what they're doing next, and I'm able to pivot onto the good side of that, whatever side that may be, before it happens. And I do it the right way. I don't just do it, make money, and then I made money. I try to pull people in with me, right? Case in point, silver. Silver, I was screaming my brains out when silver was under $20 an ounce, right? Then it goes up to 120, fell down to about 100, and I started saying, guys, pivot, pivot now. Some of you did, some of you didn't, but it was the right call. And now we're into something else. So it all goes back to knowing their game. So I want to start tonight with something that just happened over the past few weeks that most of you probably missed. And if you didn't miss it, you probably understand the full weight of what it actually means. So I'm going to break it down for you tonight. I'm going to put a whole bunch of links that are going to scroll on the bottom of the screen down here and put some photos up, some overlays up over my face. There's a little short, very short PowerPoint presentation a little bit towards the end. I want you to see what's happened just recently. I want to see if you have actually noticed it. Chances are you didn't. After that, I'm going to bring up some other situations that you also probably missed. And I'm going to start to identify for you their house of cards. And when you realize that it's a a house made of cards, if you flick the bottom card, their house collapses, right? House of cards can't stand without its base. So I want to identify exactly what this house of cards is and the individual cards that make it up. All of these individual things that we're going to talk about tonight lead to the entire house being built. So I'm going to break it down for you. The first thing that we're going to start tonight is the National Academy of Sciences. Big word, big thing, National Academy of Sciences. Let me put a couple of screenshots up here on the screen of what their logo and their building looks like. I really want you guys to know what this is. And trust me, this is very important because this is going to lead in not only to the rest of the show, but also to um, the entire house of cards, the entire thing that they've been constructing and how to identify it and how it's going to help you going forward. So this here is the logo of the National Academy of Sciences. And it says there so politely on the bottom of the screen, in service to the nation, right? See that down there? And then this one here, this is their sign outside of their building. You can see there it was incorporated in 19, who gives a shit, 18, whatever. Doesn't even matter. Do you actually know, though, even if you've seen this logo before or you've heard of it, do you actually know what the National Academy of Sciences is? Because it's super important for a few reasons. The National Academy of Sciences is the most prestigious scientific body in the United States of America. It was chartered by Congress. It advises the government on science and technology. That's a pretty big deal. Here's why. When a federal judge needs to understand something scientific to make a ruling in a case, they open a book called the Reference Manual on Scientific Evidence. Let me show you the website to the Reference Manual on Scientific Evidence. By the way, on the bottom of this video, in the description of the video, every single link that I'm about to post on the screen is available as a hyperlink, meaning you could click it and it'll take you right to that website. You could do that now. You could do it after the live stream. The one that's scrolling right above here right now, that is the direct link, but you cannot click that. You could only type it in. If you want the actual link, in the bottom of this video on Rumble, there'll be a description. Go down to the bottom of the description, you'll see reference links, reference lists, or something I have it titled. This is where that link is. You could click it directly. Now, the reference manual on scientific evidence, this book is co-authored by the National Academy of Sciences. So they're related. Okay. The reason why I'm doing these links and screenshots is for you to verify all this stuff. Because by the time we get to the end of this live stream, you're going to understand why I did this live stream. It's going to become more clear. But follow me along, thing by thing, step by step, and you're going to see their playbook. I'm going to identify it to you because it's important for you to know this. It's important for you to know how they do all of this evil. This manual up above, that's scrolling through the screen, it's been published since 1994. Now, in their latest edition of this manual, there was a chapter on climate science. This chapter specifically told judges, federal judges, the people who decide massive cases worth billions and billions of dollars, that climate change is unequivocal. That's the word that they use. Climate change is unequivocal. Pretty serious word to describe something that's extraordinarily confidential, don't you think? I'm sorry, controversial, not confidential. It says specifically that human activity is the primary driver for climate change. It says that fossil fuels, if you don't believe me, go look it up. It's all in that manual right there. It says that fossil fuels are destroying the planet. And based on that chapter in that manual, judges across the United States have been ruling against energy companies, against farmers, against American businesses. Billions and billions and billions of dollars in losses. Billions. Now, Here's the problem. That chapter in that manual was written by people with massive conflicts of interest. Massive. Some of the authors that wrote it, and you could go look at who wrote it, were directly involved with climate litigation against oil and gas companies. Some of the funding came from radical left organizations like the Bezos Earth Fund. What does the Bezos Earth Fund look like? Let me show you. Looks something like this. Inspired by nature, driven by innovation. The Bezos Earth Fund, guided by the belief that Earth is the best planet in the solar system, works to protect and restore the natural world. With partners around the globe, we are developing innovative solutions to ensure the planet remains a place we can and want to live on. Bezos. The funding for that manual and that chapter came from organizations just like the Bezos Earth Fund. Go read about it. There's the link right there. Bezos. Remember that. Let's move on to the next one. Now, one of these committee members was literally removed the same exact day. One of the committee members on the committee was removed the same day that an oil industry blog exposed her for saying the following words. She referenced an arbitration science ruling and said they have a role to play in this litigation. Just for saying those words, dismissed right off the board, just like that. If they disagree at all with what this manual says, they're removed. Another one of them resigned because she was afraid that the Trump administration would, quote, go after the panel. This wasn't science. This had nothing to do with science. This was activism. It was activism disguised as science. This was a weapon. That's what it was. This whole thing was nothing but a weapon. Now, President Trump, he caught them, just as he always does. Under pressure from Trump, the National Academy of Sciences pulls climate chapter from judicial manual. This has just happened, guys. Look at the date on that. August 7th, 2026. This is just a couple weeks ago. Here's another photo. This was Trump's post on Truth Social. The National Academy of Sciences has historically published analytical scientific manuals expressly for our federal judiciary. Of course, the Academy has been run by radical left Democrats who, it turns out, publish fraudulent, biased, and misleading manuals on climate change. These bogus manuals were used by judges to decide massive climate change cases and have created huge losses across our country. These manuals have been totally discredited. Our nation's federal judges deserve facts and science, not political fraud and false science on climate. With this truth, I hereby order, he's using Truth Social to create orders. With this truth, I hereby order federal suspension and debarment officials to review this conduct. Our taxpayers should not be funding climate fraud, and judges who should never have relied upon it. Thank you for your attention in this matter, President Trump. So he caught them. He caught them doing this. See, there's so many little posts that Donald Trump puts out there that because it's not relevant to the things that we think we care about, we don't really notice that well. We kind of let them slide and it's no big deal, right? These things are extraordinarily important. And just now, in that post, Trump didn't just criticize them, he completely threatened to defund the entire committee. He proposed cutting off the entire national academies from federal money. 2 days later, the American Institute of Physics confirmed it. They said that Trump is proposing to defund National academies, the New York Times covered it, the Courthouse News covered it, a whole bunch of different publications covered it. And then on August 7th, just the photo I just saw you, 10 days ago, well, I guess it was more like a couple days ago, or a couple of weeks ago now, they capitulated. They pulled the climate chapter from the manual, they deleted it from their website, they announced an independent review. Let me say that one more time because it's extremely important. The most prestigious scientific body in America admitted by their actions that their own climate science chapter could not withstand scrutiny. Scrutiny, not court challenges, just scrutiny by somebody like Donald Trump. They completely removed the chapter. This chapter has caused billions of dollars in losses for American companies, farmers, and many others. Billions. One chapter in one book funded by people like Jeff Bezos, who has an enormous interest in this stuff. And here's the sad part. This isn't new. ClimateGate. Some of you might be thinking, okay, Phil, but maybe this was just one bad chapter, one mistake in the entire manual. Mm-mm. This is a pattern. And this is what we talked about before the show started. This is a pattern, and I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to prove it to you right now. Let me take you back, all the way back to November of 2009. A hacker broke into the server of the Climate Research Unit at the University of East Anglia in England. This is the most important climate research center in the entire world. Their data feeds directly into the UN's climate reports. The hacker released thousands of emails between top climate scientists. Thousands. And what did those emails say? This one here is from Phil Jones, the director of the unit. He wrote, and this is the direct quote from his email. You could even see the email on the screen in the exact format that it was released in from the hacking group. He says, quote, "I've just completed Mike's nature trick of adding the real temps to each series for the last 20 years to hide the decline. Hide the decline." His words, not my words, his words in that email. This is the head of the department. This isn't a conspiracy theorist words. You just looked at the email. Look at it again. In his other emails, they even discussed how to prevent skeptical scientists from being published in peer-reviewed journals. They tried to cover it up. They talked about deleting data rather than releasing it under the Freedom of Information request. They talked about how to get over the requests, how to get around them. They coordinated messaging to make sure that their narrative stayed consistent. This entire thing was referred to as ClimateGate. I'm sure you heard about it. This is nothing new. This is all the way back from 2009. It was the biggest science scandal of the entire decade. And what happened? What happened after the scandal? Nothing. Zero. They investigated themselves, they cleared themselves, and they kept going. That was 2009, 17 years ago. They've never stopped doing the same exact thing. Have any of you ever heard of NOAA, NOAA? It's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They published a book. Well, it wasn't really a book. It was more like a study. They called it the Coral Study. Here it is here. Just some stuff that Google will tell you about it. This study was released just before rather, the Paris Climate Agreement, the big agreement that Biden kept trying to put through. Pretty convenient timing, right? It claimed that the so-called global warming pause, which was a period of 15 years where the temperatures didn't go up at all, they claimed that it never even happened. This study said that the data was wrong. It said warming has never stopped, but there was just a major problem. The study rushed through without proper internal review. The data wasn't even archived according to NOAA's own protocols. And the lead author in this entire thing, his name was Dr. John Bates. Let me put Mr. Bates on the screen here. That's John Bates right there. John Bates was the principal scientist at NOAA's National Climatic Data Center. He came forward. He went public. He testified before the House Science Committee. He said that his colleagues manipulated climate records. Not my words. Those are his words. That's what the United States House of Representatives confirmed. They said, quote, former NOAA scientist confirms colleagues manipulated climate records, end quote. This man, John Bates, spent his entire career at NOAA. He wasn't a political activist. He wasn't a conspiracy theorist. He was their top integrity scientist. And he said that they cheated. So again, follow along here because again, it goes back to their playbook, goes back to their house of cards. 2009, you have ClimateGate. 2015, you have NOAA. 2026, you have the National Academy of Sciences pulling their chapter. Same pattern, same playbook, just a different decade. Nothing changed. Now, I want to show you why they do this. Because it's not about science. It's not about climate. It's not about any of that. That's all just a cover for one very important thing. Why are they doing these things? Let me ask you guys. Put it over here in the live chat. Whoever gets it first, I'll give you a shout out. I'll read your name. They're not doing it because of science. They're not doing it because of data. They're not doing it because of climate. They're doing it for one thing and one thing only. What is that thing? Why are they doing all of these things? Manipulating books, manipulating. There you go. Good job, guys. You're all saying it actually. Joyce Tessman. Great job. Joyce got it first. You all said money, but you're right. They're all doing it for one reason and one reason only money. That's what this entire game is about. ClimateGate, NOAA, National Academy of Sciences pulling the chapter. It's all about money, nothing else. Now, here's what we're going to do we're going to follow the money. We're going to follow the money. We already talked about the Bezos Earth Fund. There's some of the money coming in, right? Jeff Bezos put in $10 billion. $10 billion from Jeff Bezos into climate activism. 10 billion. 10 billion. Some of that money went directly to organizations that funded authors of the NAS chapter that we just talked about. The same chapter that was pulled, Jeff Bezos's money went into the writers of that chapter. And then they pulled the chapter. Bloomberg. You guys know Bloomberg? Good old Mike Bloomberg. Bloomberg Philanthropies. Annual report 2025-2026. You could actually go to Bloomberg's website right now. There it is. I shortened the URL for you. If you type in that exact URL right there, it'll take you right to this webpage and you could go through it. The link to this webpage is actually in the description of this video as well. Global reach, local impact. Gotta love those two-word sentences, right? Learn how Bloomberg Philanthropies is saving and improving lives globally by building partnerships, following the data, and leading the way in our latest annual report. Bloomberg Philanthropies. Michael Bloomberg has spent over $500 million on his climate campaigns. His organizations fund climate litigation, lawsuits against oil companies, against farmers, and against American energy. $500 million against America. He's putting $500 million to hire attorneys to crush farmers. Go read about it. He doesn't care. He'll tell you about it in that link I just put. Here's the game. Listen, it's all a game. It's all a house of cards. The same people who fund the science are the same people who file lawsuits based on the science. They pay scientists to write papers. Those papers become settled science. They become the gospel. And then that settled science goes into the hands of the judges in the manuals, which they also fund. Judges rule on cases, billions of dollars worth of rulings based on these manuals. Billions of dollars changes hands from the good, hardworking American or the American business out of their hands and into the cabal's hands. All about money. It's not science, it's a business model. It's what they do. They invest in the narrative, right? And then they profit from the verdicts. It's a business. Has nothing to do with climate, has nothing to do with Noah, has nothing to do with anything. They're investing in something, and then through the verdicts, because the verdicts are rigged, because the judges are looking at their manuals, they make money. And for 30 years, nobody questioned this. Because if you did, you recall the denier. Remember the terms they used to throw out there? Anti-science. You're anti-science. Follow the science. Don't believe that blogger. They tried to destroy your reputation. Does that sound familiar? It should. You want to know why? Because they just did it recently. It's the same playbook. COVID. It's the exact same thing that they did to you and me and the loved ones that we lost with COVID. The exact same playbook. On July 29th of this year, just 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago almost, Dr. Anthony Fauci appeared before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, or whatever the hell it was called. He was subpoenaed to go. Otherwise, he wasn't going to go. He had no choice. That's what subpoena means. And over the course of 3 hours, Fauci invoked the Fifth Amendment 111 times. 111. Now, let me put that in context for you. This man testified before Congress more than 200 times in his career. 200 times. And in every single one of those appearances, he never once, not a single time, invoked the Fifth Amendment until now. 200 times. But just this past month, 111 times. The Fifth Amendment, just so you guys, if you're not familiar with the law, the Fifth Amendment protects you from self incrimination. You use it when answering a question truthfully that would prove that you committed a crime. That's what it's for. You are not, you are given the protection under law that if your answer in a court of law is going to incriminate you, you don't have to answer the question. I'm familiar with the Fifth Amendment. You want to know why? Because I was accused of some really bad things. Really bad things. Sexual crimes. And I said, prove it. Because I didn't do it. Prove it. And they didn't think I was going to do this. They didn't think I had the money for the attorney. They didn't think I could wait it out in prison. They didn't think I was going to be able to survive losing my career. So they didn't think I was going to fight. They just thought they had me and they were going to throw me in a cell. I fought, found the money, made the victim get up on the stand and tell her story. The first question they asked her, "What's your name?" You know what she said? "I choose to invoke my right to the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution." Couldn't answer any more questions after that. Same thing Fauci did. You know why she invoked the Fifth Amendment? Because if she answered truthfully to any of the questions, it would have incriminated her. Because her original police report was a lie. And do you know what the penalty in Pennsylvania is for filing a false police report? A felony. She would have went to jail. If she told the truth about lying in the police report, she would have went to jail. Not me, her. So she pled the Fifth Amendment. That's what the Fifth Amendment does. It protects you. That's why Fauci pled it. It protected him. So getting back to Fauci, what exactly is he hiding? What questions could he not answer without incriminating himself? If he did nothing wrong, questions about gain of function research, questions about funding the Wuhan lab, questions about the decisions that locked down America, destroyed businesses, kept children out of school for 2 years, some of them missing their senior years of high school, some of them missing the first couple years of their school career, kindergarten, first grade. The Republican committee put out a statement that day. They said Fauci is hiding behind the Fifth Amendment instead of admitting the truth. 111 times. Remember that number. 111 times. This is the system of control. It's ClimateGate, it's NOAA, it's the manual that judges go by for climate decisions, billions of dollars worth of decisions. These judges are handcuffed by that manual. The manual was just pulled 2 weeks ago. Fauci. It's the same thing over and over and over and over again. Now, let me connect the dots for you, okay? Because this isn't random. This is, as I said, a system. Let me put something on the screen here real quick. Presentation. And we're going to do a share screen. We're going to pull this up. We're going to go back here. This is just going to keep it a little bit more, a little bit easier. This one here. There we go. Let me make sure that came up. It did. So let me go back here. The system of control, that's what I'm calling it. Step one. Step one in the system of control. You ready? Fund the science. We have Bezos, Bloomberg, government grants with strings attached. The money flows through these scientists who produce the, quote, right conclusions. Right? Sound familiar? Step two, they write the rules. Those conclusions become settled science. They go into manuals, they go into guidelines, they go into regulations. Judges use them, regulators use them, politicians use them. They fund the science and then they write the rules. Step three, they control the media. If you question the science, you're a denier. If you ask about Fauci and why he pled the Fifth Amendment so many times, you're a conspiracy theorist. If you point out conflicts of interest, you get deplatformed. You lose your accounts on social media. How many times have you seen me lose a social media account? YouTube, Vimeo, Twitter. Step four, they control the money. Your bank account, your investments, your retirement, all of it. It sits inside of a system that they built, that they regulate, and that they could change at any time. Climate, COVID, elections, it's all the same exact system. It's all the same people that do it. This is the same group of people that do all of these things. It's all built on the same thing, one concept and one concept only. What do they build? I'm going to ask the audience again here. What do they build this system on one solid base that they build all of this stuff on. And it has to do with you. It has to do with you. What is the one thing that they need for all of this stuff to work? One word, and it starts with a T. And it has to do with you. What do they need? It's the basis of their entire system. Starts with a T. Trust. There it is right there. Who said that? Shar Lotus. Trust. Every single part of their game is built on your trust. That is their playbook. Without your trust, none of it works. They need you to trust them, because the moment you stop trusting them, what happens to the house of cards? It falls. One of the pillars of their house of cards is your trust. The most important pillar of their entire playbook is your trust. You stop trusting them, the whole thing falls apart.